the next subject that we're going to discuss, and this is definitely one that has been in the news, that everyone should be fairly familiar with by now, but it is an incident that occurred in Virginia where a Black and Latino military officer, his name is Caron Nazario, was assaulted by Virginia police at a traffic stop, and he was pepper sprayed, even though he was complying with police commands. So, for our listeners out there, this has been a pretty national story, but just so you all have that particular information, the latest update is that the officer involved in that was fired, and that the Army lieutenant, so the victim here, Caron Nazario, has filed suit. He's seeking more than $1 million against the police officers involved.
That's what I'm talking about.
He should be seeking like 10, to be honest.
No, add a zero to that.
Yeah,
right.
$1 million ain't nothing.
10
Brother,
million.
think higher. Think like 10, 15.
Exactly. Yeah. So according to the USA Today article, he is seeking punitive damages. So this is definitely a hot story. Our specific question that we're going to be talking about today is, was this incident justified? Right? Were the police justified in spraying him?
No.
Or was this just an act of blatant racism? So, Mr. PAT, we're going to throw it back to you to start us off. What say you, sir?
Okay, so this incident was blatantly racist. Flat out.
No pull. No ifs, ands, and nothing about it.
No ifs, ands,
no cap.
buts.
I'm swagging on this one. No cap.
There is no justification. Like, it was blatantly racist. And I watched the video. And the thing is, I don't like watching these videos. I've gotten away from watching these videos, but of course it's on social media, keeps popping up.
Of course.
And eventually I just say fuck it and I just watch it. So I did watch the video. But yes, this incident was blatantly racist.
Damn right.
This wouldn't have happened to a white military worker. I think what's interesting about this incident is that a lot of the people who were vocal about Colin Kaepernick kneeling during the national anthem got real quiet when this military worker was pepper sprayed. People said that Colin Kaepernick was disrespecting the military, even though Colin Kaepernick himself stated that his intentions weren't to disrespect the flag or the military. So here we are, where we have a military worker who was pepper sprayed, blatantly disrespected, and we don't hear much from these same people who were upset with Kaepernick. I'll just say it like it is. I'll just say it like it is. It's the fact. It's the fact that the military worker is black, and I'm just call him black. I know they say black and Latino. I know he's black and Latino. He's a melanated man. I'm gonna take him in. I'm gonna take him in. He a brother. He a brother. I'm gonna take him in as a brother, unless he, comes out and says otherwise.
Right.
But he's a brother in this one. He's black. I'm gonna say black.
Brother, you're still a brother.
Black and Latino.
Don't change yourself, brother.
So the military worker was disrespected because he's black. And the thing is, there was no statements about disrespect for the military. Like when I go on social media and I read people's comments, don't get me wrong. I'm sure that people did mention it. I'm sure there are people saying that this was just disrespectful to the military or to this military worker, but a lot of the comments, a lot of the statements I've seen, just a lot of the commentary I've seen, nobody, let me not say nobody, a lot of these people, a lot of the people that I've seen who were vocal about Kaepernick and were upset with Kaepernick because he so-called disrespected the military, even though that's bullshit. None of these people talked about how this military worker, this black man who was in the military, was disrespected. Nobody talked about disrespect for the military. And I think the reason for that is the fact that this man is black. Because if he was white, people would have mentioned disrespect for the military. But because this particular military worker is black, nobody's really mentioning the military aspect of it. Now, like I said before, I know that there was some outrage from people from every race. I understand that. But let's be real here. When people think of the US military, they don't think about the black people who fought for this country and continue to fight or continue to partake in the military. When people think about things like patriotism and defending this country against terrorism, they don't think about black people. Let's just keep it a buck. They're not thinking about black people. They're thinking about white people.
No cap.
Yeah, no cap. I'm gonna keep it 100. They think about white people. They don't think about black people whenever we talk about things like patriotism and defending this country. They think about the white people in the military. But the thing is, black people and the military go hand in hand. I mean, if you know the history, they go hand in hand. But the thing is, black people and the US military don't really go hand in hand in the collective consciousness of Western society. Of course, anyone who knows their history knows that black people have always fought for this country. And they do know that black people and people of other races do join the military. But the fact is, the US military is part of the white power structure. When you think of the US military, once again, you think of, quote, the white man. We're going to say, metaphorically speaking, we think of the white man. I say all this to say that the attack on the black military worker clearly highlights the racism in this country. The cops that pulled him over showed blatant disrespect with their racism. Blatant racism and disrespect for this man who has served this country. And the people who are apathetic towards this incident, while being angry at Colin Kaepernick's protest, showed their racism also. And you know how they showed it? They showed it by not being as vocal when it comes to this pepper spraying incident. And I mean,
their corner.
Like I said, anyone can ask, how do I know how people feel? And my answer is social media activity. I mean, I'm just going off social media, and I understand everybody has different opinions, different outlooks. I get all that, but I go off what I see on social media. That's what I'm going off of. In this day and age, I mean, how do we know how people feel on certain issues? Once again, social media activity. We see what people say and we see how people react. And the thing is, what people say says a lot, and what people don't say says a lot. When it comes to racism, I think, and I'm sure y'all might agree with me, and you can let me know if you don't, but I think that silence is compliance. I think people who don't speak out against racism are just as guilty as the people who enact their racism openly, white silence is a form of compliance. It's a form of complacency. If we felt a certain way about Kaepernick's perceived disrespect for the military, then why are we not keeping the same energy when a military worker is blatantly disrespected by law enforcement? I mean, I know why. It's because the military worker in this case is Black.
Right, especially considering that Kaepernick made clear. Oh, sorry, PAT.
No, that's cool. I'm done.
You. I was actually only just going to say you made a great point, because especially when Kaepernick made clear that he actually received guidance from military personnel to kneel. He says what he initially was going to do, I think, was sit or something like that for the anthem. And
I remember hearing about that.
Yeah. And he consulted a veteran, and that person actually said, no, what would be preferred would be to kneel. And so it's baffling to me that there were so many people with that much energy, you know, for Colin Kaepernick's quote unquote disrespect to the military community.
Because it had to deal with their football game. It had to deal with their football game.
Exactly.
That's why.
It has to deal with them being affected in their comfort zone, which they don't like, and and that's a big part of it. And to what Pat said, that this same energy isn't there because the victim's Black. It's that simple. E-Man, if you don't mind, I think I'm gonna actually go ahead and say my two thoughts on this, because they're just quick two thoughts, to be honest.
Go right on ahead.
So I have seen the video. I have read more than a few articles about the incident. The gist of the matter, per my understanding of what happened, is that the victim, and again, his name is Lieutenant Nazario, and I'm saying victim because he is a victim of a crime. He is a victim.
It's a dope last name, by the way. That's a dope last name, by the way.
Okay, yeah. The victim, he is a victim of assault by the Virginia Police Department. I guess we have to say alleged assault. And I've seen the videos the video, and I've read articles, and the gist of what happened is he was being pulled over because he didn't have a rear tag. The reason he didn't have a rear tag is because it was a newer vehicle, and he did have the temporary tag that is provided to him by the dealer in the back window. So keep that in mind as well, folks. But so anyway, he was being pulled over for that issue. He was uncomfortable once they walked up to the vehicle and asked him to step out of the vehicle, because at that point they hadn't even approached him asking for ID or anything, considering that their reason for pulling him over was supposed to be because of the missing rear tag. Standard procedure, unless you have otherwise to suspect he is dangerous, would have been to walk up and ask for his ID and insurance and ask him what's going on. These police officers' very first commands were for him to exit the vehicle. So as any Black person would be in this day and time, just wanted to make sure I said that clear and concisely. He was not very comfortable with stepping out of the vehicle, but did not want to seem non-compliant, so made sure to raise his hands and stick them out the window, meaning that the police officers on scene could see his hands and every movement of them. Okay. And still, they pepper sprayed him because they said he did not comply with stepping out of the vehicle, even though he is clearly no threat to them because he is choosing to be compliant by lifting his hands out. So with all that said, let me just say this exactly for what it is. The answer to the question of was it justified or was it blatant racism is blatant freaking racism, as PAT said, right? It's that simple. They were blatantly racist. They approached this Black man, military or not, in a hostile manner. And then they proceeded to assault him by pepper spraying him. And that's just absolutely ridiculous. See, the problem that I have with the police community, and let me make this clear, I am not by any means saying that every police officer is bad or that the police do not serve a purpose sometimes.
That means we're not calling you hoes.
Here is the issue with the police, okay? If you are an officer sworn to uphold the law, regardless of who the party is breaking it, that means you uphold the law regardless of your bad brothers doing bad shit. Okay? It's that simple. These police officers on that scene both decided to violate this man. Okay, yep. They're both assholes. They're both vulnerable to whatever lawsuit he has coming against the both of them. And I hope he sues their damn pants off. And they're both blatantly racist. It's that
simple. Can we call them hoes too? Can we call them hoes? Can we call them hoes?
Sure, if you want. You know, that's and I'm sorry, you know, I can't get any more simple than that. I can't simplify it any further than that. It was blatant racism. It was a ridiculous situation, and they accosted him because he was a Black man. That's my opinion on the matter. So, E-Man, what say you, sir?
All right, so first, I'm going to just call them out hoes because those police officers were hoes. So we don't save no hoes. So we just letting y'all know that, all right? I wish I could play Project Pack at the moment right now, but I ain't got nothing pulled up to listen to it because I feel like at this moment, you know, we need to play some Project Pack and just say, we don't save hoes and whatnot. I can't call them chicken heads because, you know, they're not women, but sorry about that. But yeah, but sorry, I'm digressing again. So those fools are going to get what they deserve. I'm talking about those police officers. When I pulled up the video, you know, the police officer kept yelling at the military, you know, officer and whatnot. And before I continue, I want to give a good shout out to, you know, all the military out there. You guys do a crazy and amazing job for the U.S., even though they do a lot of BS and bullshit and whatnot. But I really thank y'all because y'all fight a fight that y'all don't need to fight, and y'all fight it because, you know, there's a lot of people who don't want to do it. And because you guys do it, I don't have to do it. So I really respect y'all a lot because you guys are doing something that you don't have to do, but you choose to do it for others are not forced to do it. So I really applaud that. But now get back, but I watched that video about 4 or 5 times, and you know, it's silly. I will repeat this. It's silly, you know, to pull a man over, you know, for temporary tags, knowing temporary tags are only good, you know, for a month, you know, and all temporary tags are legit, you know. So to go with that angle that he went with as an officer is pretty stupid because that's not even a crime and whatnot. It's really not a crime. If it can't fit on the plate, you can definitely put it in the window. It's not a crime. There's no crime that states on that, you know, because I've seen that many times when I'm driving, you know, in Virginia, Maryland, or DC. So it's not even a crime. And many officers, you know, who are, you know, trying to think they're big boss in the laws and whatnot, you know, feel like they can do things they want to do and whatnot, and you feel like they can't get away with it and whatnot. do shit what they do, because I feel like their behaviors as officers, they look like that was common to them. You know, they knew what they were doing. They knew they've done this before. You know, just the way how he was at. You know, the man didn't even like pull out a gun. He just sat in the man, and the man even stated himself that he was scared. You know, he was even afraid to take off his damn seatbelt in the car. That's how scared he was, because you got not one but two people with guns, you know, and you don't even know what might happen next, you know. And I can feel for that man, because, you know, I've had a situation that happened to me during this time also too, and whatnot. You know, it didn't get nasty, you know. At the end of the day, you know, my verdict was basically I filed a complaint, and all I got was the officer didn't do anything wrong. You know, I could have pushed that complaint even more, but it's very sad how they stick up for people's bad fucking behavior. You know, and him getting fired, that's not even that's nothing and everything like that. That man should be, that is nothing. He should be in a jail cell right now for disrespecting a military man like that.
Yeah,
you know,
his pension need to be taken away.
Pension, everything. He needs to be down lower than his damn self and whatnot.
World. He got fired. He gonna go work at another busted ass police station in some old hick town somewhere and be right back up to the same bullshit.
If that man gets hired again based upon this bullshit,
it happens.
It happens.
I know it happens.
Like somebody said, they don't get fired. They get transferred.
Yeah, you might get transferred and whatnot. So if that bullshit happens, I hope this man finds him to make sure he puts a restraining order on that man and make sure that man's life gets ruined and everything. He don't deserve no life at all, because he's a sick, deranged human being. To disrespect a military man, you know, for no apparent reason. You couldn't even explain yourself what you did, knowing that it wasn't even a legal thing to do. You know, like it's driving me fucking insane. Just watching it made me feel so bad, because I was trembling watching this video that they didn't put a bullet in this man for no apparent reason, over the simple fact his temporary tags couldn't fit in the damn license plate, in the plate behind the car. Are you serious? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, when you think about it, and I'll just say this real quick and we could wrap this up, and I apologize for interrupting you.
You good.
But think about the scenario. We have a trained military officer who feared stepping out of his vehicle and complying with police officers because of the state our nation is in, with police officers executing, because that's the appropriate fucking term, people just because of their race. And that in itself should be alarming. Trained military personnel.
It's very alarming.
That in itself should be alarming.
That's what bothered me. That's what bothered me most about the whole situation. You know, a military man and whatnot. So, like, many people who don't know too much about the military, you know what? You give up a lot. You know, it's not an easy task. You know, when you go to the military, you know, you're doing basic training. You know, and you know you're away from your family for about a few weeks and whatnot. My brother was in the Navy and whatnot. You know, and you know he did basic training. He came back. Then he was stationed in certain, different parts, of like the world. My brother was also stationed. He was stationed in Japan in the Navy for quite some time and whatnot. Until he finished his time, he was good. But, but active, like military, like I get, their lives are pretty tough because they can be in one state, for a year or two, and they can be in a different state for another year or two, these people have families. If they have families, it's tough on kids. And, even if you have a significant, that's tough. That's also tough. It is also too, some are pretty lucky, some are not. But the stuff they have to deal with daily. It's tough on them. Then this asshole did something that he can't even come back from and ruin a man's life. You know, like it's man. I hope you know what I'm not even going. You know what I'm gonna make sure I don't say nothing. You know that don't get me losing my mind right now because you know. I you know what? I'm not even gonna say nothing anymore because if I do, it's just gonna push me more to the edge.
Yeah, we definitely feel you on that. Real quick though, and we feel where you're coming from. I mean, this is just one of those things that just leaves you speechless. The fact is, this just highlights the major issue in this country. As we know, racism, obviously, because when you think about it, the military, the U.S. military, when people look at the military, people put that on a pedestal, like the highest pedestal. Like there's a high respect and just a level of reverence. Like there's just high esteem and reverence and respect for the military, for the U.S. military. And a Black person that is in the military is still dealing with racism. And we know this has happened, decades ago. It's part of the history of this country, as I mentioned before, because Black people have always fought for this country. And decades ago, Black people who fought for the country came back to U.S. soil to be disrespected and to deal with racism, white supremacy. And it's still going on to this day. And it just goes to show that no matter what income level or position or career, and I'm talking high level, like whether they're making six figures or whatever, it does not matter how much that Black person makes. They are still going to deal with racism, white supremacy, flat out. Like,
because the system,
and it just shows. This incident really highlights it for me, and I think all of us and everybody else. It should highlight the racism, because this is a military worker, and even he's dealing with racism. So, I mean, this incident, it says a lot. It says a lot. It's
their system. They don't. The one thing they don't want to validate that it's their system. They're afraid of that validation, because the simple fact is, once they do that, then you have to open those demons in your damn closet. You really do. Because once, like I said earlier before, once you validate something, you said it. So it means you agree with what you said, and once you already validated it, there's no coming back from it. There's no coming back. But none of them don't want to validate. Validate basically not about them benefiting from it. They know the system is for them. They know it. They don't want to seek that validation behind that. And that's where we're at. That's where we're at, Like every piece of infrastructure, I can say our ancestors built it, but they built it for them by using us to fulfill their needs and whatnot. That and you can say this, otherwise, because I can tell everyone like this, can anybody really name many, things that many white Europeans have invented? Because when I've sat down and looked at anything, there's I can say there's really nothing on the table. And the reason why I'm saying this is, if you look back at history and whatnot, do you know that many, like our ancestors, taught white Europeans how to actually bathe? That's in history. Is in history.
Yeah, they taught them how to bathe, how to clean themselves. So, So that's in history.
Yep. So no one's not lying about it. This is in history. So I hope this is a wake-up call for everyone.
They taught them how to be civilized, you know.
And that's how crazy. Remember, our ancestors were peaceful people until we did this whole thing of, coming together. And that's when everything started changing. Because it's the same thing that goes here every day. We're always dividing. And like everyone says, dividing conquers. Why? Because once you start dividing everyone, then you start making other groups where everything creates hate. And this is where we're at. This is where we're at.